What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Called a Comeback on Temple of the Past. Brian, let's hear the mutation.
Temple of the Past is the map where we have to protect a temple in the center of the map from waves of enemy units. If the temple survives until the end of the game, we win. If the enemies destroy the temple, we lose. Enemies get stronger when more of their friends die. Enemies revive once upon death. They also steal your buildings when they destroy said buildings.
Alright, that's basically it. So, we'll have Twotuuu and Sticksbender in the call with us today. How are you guys?
Good.
Alright.
Good.
So, Twotuuu, how will we rank the commanders this week?
This mutation is pretty difficult because the enemy comp matters a lot, as with many Just Die mutations. But with Avenger, it makes it even more difficult. So if your commander can deal lots of damage in a short time, so you can burst them down, that will be good. And if your commander can survive longer fights, that will also be good.
And can we just agree that comps with Scourge are universally bad?
Kind of. Scourge have 2 life. Banelings don't, but yeah, Scourge pretty bad.
How about you, Sticksbender?
It is a hit point punching simulator on Temple of the Past. It's a fun time. We just want to look for people who have good damage and don't have to, be punched back by Amon while they're dealing that damage as much as possible.
Ideally. Okay, that sounds good. Let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
So, Abathur, man. He has his usual problems with Just Die, so farming is kind of difficult. Fortunately, unlike the last time we had Avenger, there's no Heroes from the Storm.
Yeah.
So that's good. I actually don't think spawn camping is necessary or good for this one. You can just, I think you should have enough biomass before 6 minutes to get 1 Brutalist. You will lose, or you have to use like double the nest just to kill the earlier waves.
Absolutely.
And if you put your nest in the wrong place, then they won't walk over them. So that kind of sucks. Once he gets going, you have a lot of stalling power, which is really good. Stalling power in the form of Storm Hosts, and you have Vipers to stop the strong enemies from attacking.
Yes.
And if they're not hybrid, you can yoink them and gang up on them. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
He's in his usual B spot.
Once again, Abathur. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. I feel like he could have potentially been in an A spot because Abathur is notably very good at just trading into Amon with swarm hosts, and by that I mean just killing stuff, and also the whole general strength of his air units being able to sit back, deal damage while Vipers disable everything. But B is fine for Abathur.
Which prestige do we recommend?
P2, Tunneling Horror.
Alright, how about Essence Hoarder?
Never.
Alright, that's fair. I actually had Abathur.
Honestly, Essence Hoarder could be fine, honestly. You would be relying very heavily on getting that air transition. That would be the big key, is getting that air transition out.
Yeah. I actually had Abathur in A because the Devourers are really good against air, but I understand the early game issues. I mean, we could also promote him if he feels like stronger than B, but we'll put him in B for now. Alarak, where do we have him?
Alarak, he has a lot of damage, and it's in the form of Ascendants that can sit back and deal that damage in a safe distance. He has to worry about the early game before he gets that damage online, which is the only real concern of Alarak. Is basically we have to get the damage together. Honestly, he feels like he could be A. You just have to get your damage set up, survive the early game, get your damage set up, and spam a whole lot of Ascendants.
Do we recommend Shadow of Death, 3rd prestige, or the second one?
That's an option, but I'd probably use the second one.
Yeah, the Templar, not Templar Parent, the Tyrant Ascendant that will allow Alarak to have a longer uptime on Empower Me. So you think he's A?
I think so.
All right. How about you, Twotuuu?
So the way I'm gonna rank this one is like C is basically around like you do your own as always. You can hold your own, and then B is like a little better than that. A is pretty good, and then S is like
you can
do everything.
Yeah,
you can do everything easily. So for Alarak, if your ally, if you have like a friend, like if you know your ally, you should use P2. If you don't know and you don't trust the pub, then you should use P3 because the mobility helps a lot. You don't need to make destroyers. You just make that mothership and then teleport when you need to. The issue with Alarak is like when the enemies get Avenger, if they run faster and they will run
on top of your
guys.
Yes,
they will run on top of the Ascendants. And the other thing is like, so if your Ascendant control is bad, you're gonna gonna have a hard time getting that critical mass. Also, if Alarak will be taking more damage, so he'll be eating more supplicants. And a lot of times I ran out of like supplicants because my ascendants are eating them and my Alarak is also eating them. So if you run out of supplicants, he'll start eating the ascendants for
Yes.
your other units. So that is an issue. And unless you're on top of everything, I think it's hard to get to the point where he becomes like nearly invincible, nearly unstoppable. So I put him in B.
B doesn't
He
sound
does
too
more
bad.
than his share, but not like a whole lot.
What do you think,
Not
Sticksbender?
with, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, so basically the biggest reason that you run into the problem of increased ascendant supplicant tension is because the ascendants have so much more to chew through that they actually are eating more supplicants than they usually would be. Pretty much what you're going to want to do if you're playing this one is you will probably want to learn to use the whole Alarak cooldown reset thing with Empower Me, because
Yeah.
what that will do is that will basically improve your supplicant efficiency.
But it only works
By
in one
allowing
lane
you
at a
to-
time. You can't do it in multiple lanes because Alarak can only be at one lane at a time.
No, you're going to have to be rotating like quite quickly between like you go to the just at like the top of the ramp, or you can, if you aren't outright spawn camp like at where the Thrasher spawns, you probably want to just be sticking at the ramps. Basically, you either want to be where the Thrasher spawns, so you're far enough forward that you can fight the wave before it actually starts coming at you, so you can walk back to come to a different wave, or you just want to be fighting at ramps so that you can rotate between waves.
All right, so Twotuuu, is that convincing enough to put him in A?
I mean, I was trying to hold two sides, and it's still hard because against
that is.
So and the enemy comp I faced was a Zerg one, which is weaker, and it was still really difficult. So if
Yeah.
you're fighting something that hits harder, I think that's even like more trouble for him.
How about you put him in B for now and then decide later if he gets promoted to A, based on where the others lie?
I think he can be A, like based on solely commander power, but the skill required to execute is really
So A star.
demanding.
Maybe that's A star, depending on your player skills, right?
Yeah, we can put him in B.
All right, B it is then. Arcturus, where do we put him?
This one surprisingly difficult, because if your bunker goes down, they start shooting you. So you have to be on top of repairing, and if you're not, you're gonna lose bunkers. But the enemies, they're gonna hit the bunkers really hard, especially if they're Protoss and they have hybrid
Immortals.
Reavers.
Oh yeah.
Hybrid Reavers and hybrid Behemoths hit really hard. If you have ESOs, that's like later, but ESOs, you can contaminated strike some of the waves, but it's still kind of hard
I agree.
to time them. So yeah, P3 is recommended. Lots of firepower, but you have to really be on top of repairs and bunker keeping an eye on the life of bunkers. But also another thing is like the Behemoths, when they grow bigger, they block the life bars, so it's hard to see.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think Manx is strong, but he does more than his share, but not like easily. So I put him in B.
What do you think, Sticksbender?
Yeah, I think that basically fits. Mengsk is like very strong, but very difficult to get him to actually work here because it's a lot of like keep the bunker alive and then do lots of transitioning upwards in tech, because if you just keep I think if you just keep throwing bunkers and troopers at it, you are going to not be able to hold out forever. You are going to need to transition to better stuff, and you need to find time to do that. So yeah, Mengsk he's difficult to do it with, but he is capable completely. So he's basically the same as Alarak. We can put him in B.
All right, B sounds fine. So I actually had him in A initially, but that sounds like a very compelling argument. I'm okay with B. Artanis, where do we have him?
Yeah, buddy. Artanis actually trades blows generally. Like, you have Storm, but that's about it. And that's not even going to work against all comps without
Storm makes it-
mutators making them tankier.
Storm
so,
makes it more difficult to snipe the tough guys.
yeah. He's bad. He's bad.
Letter.
Put him in E.
How about you, Twotuuu?
Which letter?
D.
D.
Oh yeah, okay, that's the same. So
All right.
yeah, just I use P1 with Storm, but if it's a weak comp, it's doable. If it's like not a weak comp, that's not gonna be strong enough.
All right.
P3 is like probably
More-
better if you're just holding your own side,
Yeah, it's more well-rounded. Yeah.
but it still might run into problems. So I put him in D.
I agree. I absolutely, actually no, I disagree. I actually had him in E, but both of you guys say D, so let's put him in D. Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka's supposed to be good, but creeper
Really?
hosts are not good here because the enemies have like you're gonna have longer fights, and that's not good. Mutalisks are okay, but if the enemy is like has high DPS, Avenger gives them higher DPS, and the Mutas will just keep dying. So I use Guardians against a ground comp, which is like, so if you're fighting air, then you might need creeper hosts to help. Pack leaders help a lot, but still sometimes it gets rough.
Why not Tyrannosaurs?
Maybe having some impalers will be better.
Yeah,
I put him in
Impalers,
D.
yeah. Okay, why not Tyrannosaurs though?
It takes too long to get there.
All right, that's fair.
And also, they trade blows against Amon when he has way more health and stuff than you, so that
Alright.
also is the most ideal outcome.
All right, that makes sense. So how about you, Sticksbender?
Dehaka is, he doesn't really get to do the whole not trading blows, but he is very powerful in a front-on fight. Does have the ability to rely on the strength of his pack leaders, but it's not going to be just pack leaders being able to solo everything this time. So
Yeah. Do you recommend second prestige?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So letter.
I think by the categorization we've been using, B kind of makes sense. Yeah.
All right. I actually had him in A, but both of you make really good arguments for B, so let's put him in B. Phoenix, where do we have him?
Phoenix is. Phoenix is, again, kind of someone who has to apply his face to his problems. He has to actually, trade with them. Now, trading Keldalis is very, very efficient, assuming that you actually get to, trade Keldalis with it repeatedly and not have to trade other units. So P2 can work. You basically just throw champions at the problem until the problem is gone, and hopefully the problem will go away before the next problem spawns in.
Yes.
I think because of the fact that, like, if you get a ground comp, then Phoenix can easily match, like, the categorization for A, because Keldalis can kind of handle a front on his own.
Yeah, hammer.
But that does require a ground comp.
Yes.
So,
Letter.
I feel like we could say Phoenix A.
Okay. How about you, Twotuuu?
I think because if you get an air comp, what happens is Keldalis kills all the ground units and the air units become very strong. And then your weak anti-air or weaker anti-air becomes, there's a heavy burden on Mojo, Talus, and the other people, right? So I think I put him in B because, like, if you're fighting a ground comp, he's really good, but if it's not a ground comp, he's not actually that great.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually initially had him in A, but that's I remembered the air was an issue for him, so yeah, B makes a lot of sense. So are we all okay with B?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it eventually became a unanimous B. Very sensible. Hot and Horner. Hey, how about Hot and Horner?
Hot and Horner. Oh, what? Galleons don't die.
Galleons don't die.
Just make sure that you don't use P2 and that you find a way to deal with the ground hybrid, because sometimes they'll walk past the Galleons. Especially like if you're fighting a comp where nothing hits air, they're just going to walk past you and they might just hit the temple.
Yeah.
But aside from that, if there's even like one unit attacking, sometimes the hybrid will hang out and then you can target the hybrid, like the ground hybrid.
Yes.
And then when it dies, then you can fight the other things, because the Galleons won't die and you don't need to do anything to set them up.
And
So
even when and even when the hybrid walks past, it'll be all alone, so there's no Avenger with it.
Yeah. It still has just die, so you still need something.
That makes sense.
The other thing is like you can't use the stalling galleons to produce units because they will just die. So you need another galleon at home to produce like hellions or hellbats to fight anything that leaks by. But still, it's easy 3000 HP temple, so I put him in S.
How about you, Sticksbender?
On Horror get an S tier, and it's because of a bug that our glorious post-production change guy decided to shove in there.
Do we all put Hot and Horner? Actually, I had Hot and Horner A, but do you put Hot and Horner in S?
Yeah, I guess so. If they're able to, since they're able to just cheese it now by literally having invulnerable units.
I want to add that this cheese is different from other cheese, like the Eminent Domain cheese, because there's no setup required and your ally can't mess with it.
Yes.
So that's why it's considered. Whereas like Abathur Abduct cheese and like even Eminent Domain cheese on this map can like be messed with.
Yeah, that makes sense. Karax, where do we have him?
He gets into a weird spot because he's able to do a lot with Spear Dune, but what he ends up leaving is a whole lot of hybrid. Now, Now, can he deal with those hybrid? Yes, he could build a wall of like buildings with mostly monoliths. Karax is actually ironically a bit weird in that holding more fronts becomes a bit easier, but actually killing the thrashers becomes hard.
Can't you
I
just put
feel
your
like
cannons forward rather than on the ramps? Or will that not work?
the problem is that the enemies are actually quite strong, and you might run into just the simple problem of, oh, wait, I don't have enough money to build enough cannons for my cannons to not lose this fight. The masses are going to be wiped out by your Spear of Doom abilities, so the stuff that gets through is going to have full Avenger stacks, and a lot of it is going to be hybrid, so you want lots of monoliths. A.
Okay, how about you, Twotuuu?
He doesn't get A because Immortals with Avenger, they kill everything. They kill all your buildings. If you get Immortals, they will destroy all your buildings so badly. It's not
Can't you
even
just reclaim them with your energizers? There's
like
There's a lot of Immortals. It's true actually. If you get Immortals, you're in trouble because there is a lot of Immortals.
and they get really strong. If I learned how to use P1 on this map and kill the first 3 thrashers, and you leave the last 2 alone. So yeah, there's a way to do that, and you want to hug the temple so that you have more space. Because if you try to take the ramp and you have no assistance, they might overpower you and kill all your buildings, even without Immortals.
okay.
I recommend P1 because you have
There
a
it
delete
is.
button, or
Yeah.
in this case, it's not
The
delete, but it's
panic
almost
button.
delete. Panic button. It's
Yeah.
really good for all the hybrid waves.
So
Uh,
for those unaware,
I-
the first prestige here, Architect of War, will make the Chrono Boost applicable to all of Karax's static, even your ally static defense, meaning they shoot really fast. And the Unity Barrier also applies to your static defense and buildings, so they're gonna last even longer. That's why you want to have the Chrono Boost as a panic button, and when you activate it, when you're in trouble, you will suddenly be not so much in trouble. Okay.
I would not use it as a panic button. I would use it as the one for the hybrid waves.
Yeah,
So it's
naturally, the hybrid button, anti-hybrid
I
button.
put them in B.
Use it as
by
a
the way.
planned. This is a big wave that specifically needs to be dealt with button.
Yeah, something like that. That's what. That's totally what I meant. Yeah.
I put Karax in B.
Oh, are we okay with B Sticksbender?
Yeah, B is fine.
I should Karax in S, but B is. I can see. I can see the point for B. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, B it is. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan, if she dies, you're dead. Pretty much. Her units are trash. And if she's in the front a lot because she's gonna be doing a lot of the jumping, fighting, and many of the enemies are gonna hit her. So that's kind of sucks. If you use the 3rd prestige, I guess that's alright. Hopefully the enemy has it's not that strong, so you have enough time to power up. Kerrigan's really enemy comp dependent. Again, immobilization wave doesn't even kill the enemies because they'll kill at
Double
most
life,
1 life.
yeah.
Then you have to fight them again.
Yeah.
Same problem, similar to Phoenix. Kerrigan kind of sucks against air, but even worse than Phoenix against air.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I put Kerrigan in C. I think she can deal with her own, but it's kind of hard to help.
All right, sounds fair. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, that pretty much summarizes it. Were we saying she was in B or C?
C.
C.
C. Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's move on. Nova, where do we have him?
Nova. So Liberators are good. They're a lot of damage, and they are long enough range that, like, generally you don't end up having to get hit so much. Problem is you might just find that you don't have enough damage, even with a maxed out army, and they just run past you and slam into the temple. Again, I don't think Nova should have massive problems holding her own front. She's not great against air, so she might go and see with Kerrigan, I would think. I don't really have that much to add. She's not going to be holding multiple fronts. She's probably not great against air, so she's probably going to go with Kerrigan.
All right. How about you, Twotuuu?
I think so she does have a slight problem against air, but she's not as bad as Kerrigan. Plus, she deals with ground very well, kind of like Phoenix. So I put her in B. She can kind of help out with other lanes with using airstrike or
not Omega Worms,
like after you kill
airstrike,
your side, you
airlift.
You teleport your army.
Yeah. So
I put her in B.
B. Yeah, same as me. How about you, Sticksbender? What do you think about B?
I guess B is fine. Yeah, airlift is good.
We recommend the first prestige, right? Soldier of Fortune. So you can actually mass produce your air units. Liberators are fantastic here. If we get an air comp, it is still better to make Liberators, or do we want Goliath this time?
You can have Goliath assistance.
So we still want to, no matter what, we want the Liberators to be the main unit. What if it's against Scourge? Don't we want like the Spooky Boys or something?
You lift your barracks and have them take shots.
That makes sense. So if it's against Scourge, we just fly a bunch of, fly our barracks and maybe even fly extra command centers to just soak up the damage.
I would say against Scourge, you want to airstrike every wave and then like Liberator kites if possible.
I think it's
So at least
cheaper.
like you just deal with 1 life.
I think it's just cheaper to have a command center soak up the damage than, yeah, command center is 400.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the Scourge still have to get past your units, so they still might just wipe out your entire army, and then the remaining Scourge crashes command
makes
center.
sense.
But I think losing literally every single unit was pretty expensive.
That makes sense. All right, so
Also, sometimes they just decide to ignore the command center. Not usually, but sometimes.
yeah, and just once is enough to wipe out your army. Anyway, so are we okay
Well,
with
no,
B?
like just once is enough to one-shot the temple, and you just lose.
Not really
at
one
random.
shot, but I get it. So do we agree with
It's
B?
it's not like it happens every time, but it can just happen. And it's like, oh well, I guess we lose because Blizzard unit AI decided to be spiteful today.
Do we agree with B?
I'm not entirely persuaded of B, but I guess we can put her there.
Are we gonna make an argument for C?
I don't think that she's that great against air and especially Scourge, but
Me neither,
I mean,
but neither is Phoenix. He's in B.
neither is Phoenix. Phoenix can hold more fronts more readily, it feels like, because like on one hand, yes, airstrike blows through the first life, but on the other hand, it's like kind of feels like airstrike doesn't really do anything, you know.
It's very expensive, yeah.
Eh.
Okay, how about we put her
I
in
don't know,
C
maybe-
for now?
maybe
How about we put her in
Nova
C for
and
now? And
Phoenix and C, because like C can be like is not like B is kind of like holding your own front is easy.
what do you think, Twotuuu?
And I don't think Nova really fits that.
What do you think, Twotuuu?
Holding your own side easily. I guess it depends on the comp, but if you're only holding your own side, it's not. There are 2 enemy comps with Scourge. The rest are not.
Even
So-
against just like, you know, Sky Terran, Sky Toss.
they deal too much damage to the air.
Against Sky Terran, remember, you have to deal with the like against some air comps, it can be okay because your Liberators have 9 range. Against Sky Terran, the enemy Vikings also have 9 range, so they will be getting lots of hits off on your Liberators. Like you can't kite Vikings; they have the same range as you. Plus, if it's Sky Terran, they have Yamato Cannon, and all of your units
yeah.
are valid for
Yes.
Yamato Cannon, and Just Die refills all the energy, so they can Yamato Cannon again.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I
So
guess she does differ from Phoenix in that her army's not as replaceable.
Yes, Phoenix can just keep throwing his army at the problem, and it's fine. Also, Nova's hero unit versus the Phoenix suits. Nova's hero unit has great ground removal, but doesn't have air removal. Phoenix has the Dragoon suit to just say, okay, this giant air wave, I disapprove of its existence. Goodbye.
unless he just gets right clicked on by like 50 banshees or something, but that's a different discussion.
Well, no, because your solar flare has like way more range than banshees or anything really. You just blow it up with it's 2 shots kills most things, 3 shots kills like everything except capital ships. So you use the.
But you have to kill them twice
literally,
because yeah.
So
just
what
die.
you do, so you keep track of that. You do 2 or 3 shots depending on what comp it is to get them all to proc Just Die. You wait for Just Die to expire, and you fire again with that. And now it's just the capital ships left, which
All right.
you can not have to spam your solar flare on, although you can still.
Just
but
fully Avenger capital ships makes sense. All right.
don't worry about it. You have the thing is that the Dragoon still has like 100 DPS, give or take, and you still have make sure you get Clolarian. He's just a giant over glorified Void Ray in this situation.
Okay, so letter. Do I agree with C?
I think that
C.
Nova is in C.
I think C, because it's a lot less forgiving. If you lose your army, you're in big trouble. So Just Die makes spellcasters cast their spells twice, which sucks a lot.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'll run out of defense drones.
All right, that makes sense. C it is. Raynor, where do we have him?
Man, I don't know if he's worse than Artanis, but like Marines against Avenger, not good. Spider Mines are good, but only against ground. So if you're going against air, you'll need a lot of Marines, or you'll need like Vikings or battle cruisers. But Vikings, like they need to kite, but if the enemies are faster, they'll get like extra shots on you. That's not really good either. I don't think Raynor can handle like it's really enemy comp dependent. He definitely cannot handle two sides easily. I put Raynor in D.
Yeah, that's why I had Artanis in E. But anyway, what do you think, Sticksbender?
I actually think that Artanis and Raynor are very similar in that they are both like, if you get the wrong comp, there's going to be serious trouble. However, they just have different comps, basically. For Raynor, it's what's vulnerable to spider mines. For Artanis, it's what's vulnerable to storm, or against very specific comps, you can just literally mash tempests and the enemy just doesn't know how to deal with that. Looking at Phoenix adept enemies.
I guess it makes sense.
So basically, against the right enemy comp, both Artanis and Raynor can hold their own side reasonably comfortably. If you're comfortable with the commander and the enemy comp is good, they can easily hold their own side.
Yeah.
If it's a bad comp or you're not really comfortable with the commander, we're going to have pain. That is the summary for both Artanis and Raynor. They both go in D.
All right. So for the record, for those of you guys who did watch the video, just Lila's just really good. He makes Raynor look really good. So
Yes.
you gotta understand, Raynor normally doesn't look like that.
I mean, I didn't quite manage to solo this with Artanis, but same thing. I attempted it and got kind of close. I was getting reasonably close before I decided to
Reasonably
kind of
close.
just put it down.
Yeah, Raynor.
So
I did it today.
Nice.
Yeah, see, Artanis can do it. It's
Artanis
just
can do it.
All right. So Raynor in D. Which prestige do you recommend? Second one?
P0.
No
P0,
prestige. Okay.
You just want spider mines.
Lila used the third prestige. He went like
That's-
a lot of air stuff.
Interesting. If Lila went a lot of air, then you might have to. Maybe spider mines don't work then, because Lila is very much a spider mine and bio purist. He does not like going for air if he can avoid it. So that might be a sign that maybe you need P3.
Yeah. I'll have to recheck the video, but it says on my document here, Dr. Lila, Raynor 3. So that's what it's on there. Maybe he used something else, but that's on my document. So, and I remember that game Lila just made Artanis look silly. They look like at least 2 tiers apart.
Yeah.
Oh well. Raynor in D?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Statboy, where do we have him?
Stetmann is. He has a teleport, so he can help his ally a bit. Basically, Stetmann, I feel like actually kind of fits the category for A in that he can hold his own side just fine, and if he needs to help his ally when they fail to hold their side, then it's fine. But if he has to like consistently hold both sides, then he's in trouble. Or well, by in trouble, I mean it's going to be difficult. So if we describe that as our categorization for A, then I think Stetmann is just A.
All right. How about you, Twotuuu?
He's my only I guess regular non-cheesy commander in S, because like you don't need to
Zerglings.
spread that many satellites. So even if they die to Eminent Domain, you just spread more. So that's Eminent Domain isn't really a problem. He has really heavy hitting Hydralisks that hit air, and then Ultralisks hit ground really hard, and Lings stall really well. So you can have all of those. If you have an air comp, you can actually like a heavy air comp, you can actually make corruptors to tank more shots as well. And the corruption is nice if you use it, but if you don't, that's also fine. Yeah, so he can be everywhere. So as if you're on top of things, you kill your side like before they reach your ramp, then you teleport to your ally side, kill them. Then you use blue zone, you run back to your side. So yeah,
What do you
I put him
think?
in S.
What do you think, Sticksbender?
I guess. I mean, it's like kind of the nature of the mutation is it's not ever going to be easy to hold all the sides. So I guess he's about as easy as you're gonna get.
Yeah, I did this one as Statboy. The first game I went for Infestors, it didn't work. Second game I used Ultralisks, it did work. And my ally was our Master J. It worked, I think, like exactly how you described it. Like I did help him when he failed to hold his side, especially with the green zone overcharge and Ultralisks. That worked really well. So I'm okay with either A or S. I personally have an A, but I'm okay with S also. What do you think?
Yeah.
S?
Let's put him in S because let's be honest, I don't want the only S to be
A
someone
cheese guy.
who just is like, good news everyone, we put a new bug into the game. A new game breaking bug is here.
All right.
I love hot new game breaking bugs.
Let's
No, I don't.
just put the non-bug hard shield Zerglings in S instead. All
Yes.
right. Let's move on. Stukov, where do we have him?
Stukov is very enemy comp dependent. So you're probably going to use P1 because P3 takes way too long to contribute anything meaningful. Against Avenger and Just Die, no way. I used P1 Diamondbacks first, and then I faced an air comp, so I transitioned to Liberators with their damage reduction plus increased armor. It's really good. Still kind of rough. You can stall with like your extra minerals, just make lots of barracks. He can hold his side pretty easily. It's kind of hard to help your ally though, so I put him in C.
All right. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, comp dependent, hold your own side easily. That's C. So
All right.
yeah.
It seems to be unanimous, but just for discussion's sake, how many comments do you think there will be of guys saying that they beat it with Stukov P3 and that we're vastly underrating it?
I'll ignore them.
No, just for
would
discussion.
I would also use P3, and again, in P3 you hold your own side, and against most comps it'll be easy.
Yeah, I'm just asking, how many comments do you think? Just give me a number. Give me a number. Let's see which one's closer.
I don't know.
But you saying this will
Don't worry about
affect.
it. No one's gonna care.
No one's
Okay,
gonna care.
one.
Well, like
There's gonna be that guy. There's gonna be that guy who intentionally does it.
my guess is
with
2.
this
There will
shit.
be 2 comments saying that they beat it with P3. Stukov. All right. That's my
Anyway.
guess. It's a unanimous C. I also had him in C. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus, Lone Wolf is good. So it's not like easy to deal with them, but he can be pretty much everywhere. You have Nux who can delete a lane. If you have an ally, it's even easier. You can just have Nux hang out in your ally's lane, Tychus, Sirius in your lane. And then you can also use the Cannonball Rattlesnake stall where you just give him a turret and he just holds a lane for forever. He has an extra life. So yeah, I put him in A.
Oh, finally we have an A. How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, I think A is actually fine.
All right.
For
Yeah, there we go. Let's put him in
Yeah.
A.
it's fine for Tychus.
Second prestige, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Tychus, second prestige, just send the outlaws out. They'll do their thing. Do their thing. You know what they do. Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun holds her own front just fine, doesn't hold multiple fronts. Comp dependence. If you're just holding your own front, no comp dependence. If you're having to try to do more than that, trouble. So I would say she's B. And to explain the whole no comp dependence thing, basically, just remember, your black hole removes all armor from the target, which means if you need to use black hole for capital ships, that's basically going to be what you're stuck with, is using Corsairs and black hole. Corsairs and black hole will allow even a small amount of Corsairs to completely wipe out any airwave.
As long as
Or
you have the
relatively
black hole
small.
mastery. Yeah.
As long-
Okay.
Well, you don't even need the black hole mastery necessarily, although the black hole mastery will make it easier, yes.
How about you, Twotuuu?
I don't know how many black holes you can use because I don't think you don't want to use black holes for every single wave. You can't afford that. So there has to be like some waves where you don't, and then if you don't, you might get in some trouble. So yeah, she holds her own side just fine. If you're fighting Terran, you can just wall them off. You can just wall them off. But remember that if Amon steals your Dark Pylon, he cloaks the stuff nearby.
Yeah, I don't think you want to use Dark Pylon wall off here personally. You don't need a black hole for every wave now. If you are expecting if it is an air comp, you'll want to make a lot of Corsairs. The point is just if you have a black hole, then even if you're low on Corsairs at that point, a black hole will still often be able to allow you to win the fight. But if it's an air comp, just make 2 Stargates. Make a whole lot of Corsairs.
Oh, I usually make 3 anyways.
Yeah.
Just
If it's
like-
air, if I know it's air and Temple of the Past, I make 3 Stargates.
Yeah, well then go and make 3. I find that 2 is like enough to have like 23 Corsairs off of 2 Stargates. They build fast, but if you want 3,
9-minute wave is it's a whole thing. Anyway, time stop timings.
Just chrono boost the 2. Get 2 Stargates, and as soon as they're finished, chrono boost both of them.
Time stop timings. When? 6, 10, 14,
14 because it's free, 18, 24.
18, 24. All right, those are the time stop
14
timings.
because it's free, not because you really need it.
All right,
So basically, put it at 6, then just use it literally the moment it comes off cooldown until
the last wave.
24. Until 24. Like, so after the 18-minute time stop is the last one you're using that's completely on cooldown, and then you wait for 24 for the last wave, yeah.
Yeah. So
B.
B. All right, B.
Yeah, B.
Yeah, let's move on.
You can also steal units that get too big, so
Yeah,
that's an
Zagara.
option.
Zagara, where do we have him?
Zagara, comp dependent, but bio launchers are, if you can use them, they will do tons of damage.
Several
If you
tons.
can't use them well, Amon will just walk by them and take
And
them.
take
Although,
them.
if Amon takes them, he doesn't do anything.
That's funny.
Because he doesn't know how to use them.
It was a noob.
Well, it's more
Zagara
like
holds-
no, it's completely understandable. Amon looks at this file launcher and says, "Wow, this is worthless." And he's not wrong.
Ooh, you're gonna. Okay, letter.
Banelings, like if you crash into units that just died, they will just be wasted. That's
Yeah.
kind of bad. So actually, you don't want to use Banelings until you really have to. I put Zagara in C.
How
Third
about
prestige.
you? How about you, Sticksbender?
Yeah, I would say that makes sense. She's well, actually no, I don't think that makes sense. She fits. I actually would say Zagara fits much better with Raynor and Artanis than with Kerrigan, Nova, and Stukov.
Why is that?
Like, because
She can definitely hold her own. Like her, just
yeah,
one.
Artanis and Raynor can definitely hold their own. It's just a matter of how easily, and also if some comps will just say no, you can't, not anymore. Which
The one comp that would I think make that case for Zagara is Corsairs. Aside from that, I think she's fine.
no, I'm not convinced on Zagara being able to easily hold her own side. No, I don't think she can do it nearly as easily as Kerrigan, Nova, and Stukov, even with bio launchers. No, I'm not convinced. I think she's in D tier.
Is D okay, Twotuuu?
I don't think she's that bad.
Yeah, I don't think she's. I've played Artanis and Raynor. Oh.
Zagara does have problems against like Avenger Corsairs, but aside from that, she does
Fine,
alright
right?
against other stuff, especially ranged units, because bio launchers will hit them, and you get like the first shot on them for most of them, and you have armor reduction links for the hybrids.
Yeah,
with Ling evade.
if she just has to hold her own lane, I think she's fine.
I mean, I can say, like, going off of, like, just holding your own lane, I've, like, when this was, like, first time this was live, I just did Artanis on it, holding my own lane, and I found it, like, relatively easy. But it's just, I think that a commander you're comfortable with holding their own lane relatively easily here, against most comps, is not what we're looking for C, necessarily. Because, like, basically, this is a mutation where if you are holding just your own side, and you're, like, 50-50ing with your ally, then literally every commander can be easy if you're comfortable with that commander, just straight up.
Easy enough for
So-
C. Anyway, so okay, how about this? We put him in D for now and then discuss later.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
All right, we'll put him in D for now. Zeratul, where do we have him?
He makes cannons. They're pretty decent cannons. I'm not actually.
Amon does steal
Does
them.
Zeratul make cannons? This is the important question at this point, actually.
Yeah. You can just as easily do Sir Doth Legion and the Dark Templar Swipey boys.
Probably zealots even still. But yes. Dark Templar Swipey boys are good. If in an air problem, Immortals are good. Remember,
Immortals are
his
good.
Immortals are very
Enforcers are
good
good.
against air comps.
They are true to their name. They do enforce Zeratul's will.
Yes.
Plus, if you're fighting a scary unit, demote! You're no longer a scary unit.
Hooray! Demotion of scary unit. I love demotion of scary unit. Yeah, I feel like Zeratul can probably go into A, I would think, because I think he's able to like hold his own side just fine without issue, and then be able to afford to just chuck his legendary legion at his ally's side like all the time, which it kind of ends us in a weird thing of like, can he help his ally like every single time? Yes, but is it going to be enough every single time? The more questionable part. He also does have his global teleport on Zeratul with Void Seeker, which ideally you're using that to pick up your magic space rocks, but you can use it to just sprint over to your ally and save them as well.
Speaking of Void Seeker teleport, which prestige do we want here?
I would just go P2.
Second one. The more expensive unit doesn't matter. Just get more fragments.
Just get units that are strong and don't lose.
All right.
And most importantly, a hero unit that is strong and don't lose.
All right. So letter A.
I'd say A.
How about you, Twotuuu?
I chose P0 because I didn't want to spend time finding fragments in the middle of like a fight or something, because fights are generally longer as well. That's my preference though. So I think P2 is fine.
All right.
I put Zeratul in A because
Unanimous.
as mentioned, he's strong against pretty much every comp. He can help all the time. He has a void array that can help him get to the other side.
Yeah. Well, not
And
miss. Actually, I
I
had an S,
also
but
I did not pick. I picked the suppression crystal.
not
Suppression crystal.
the stun guy.
No, because I don't want him to take my stuff.
That makes sense.
I
You
guess.
can cancel the projections, right?
I mean, you can, but then like when they get close to the temple, they'll take the if you put them near the temple, then they'll
They'll
take it
whack
and
the
they'll start
temple.
they'll start shooting the temple.
All
It's
right.
not a lot of damage, but it's annoying.
All right, that makes sense.
I guess it's a preference.
I did have him in S, but both of you guys have an A, so let's put him in A. All right, those are well
I
the
feel like there
preliminary.
is actually an argument for putting Zeratul in S, yeah.
Yeah, right. He just has deletes and demotes. Like the only thing I see with the S guys is that they can just have guys there that just stall. Even when you can't delete the enemy, you can just stall them. That's the advantage of Hot and Horner and Stetboy. Tychus is also really good, but he just had the
I can actually say that I feel like Zeratul's probably stronger than Stetmann when it comes to actually fighting stuff here.
right.
But
But yeah,
actually put Zeratul above Stet. Wait, right? I still wasn't entirely convinced on Stetmann S, to be honest.
if it's not the MS, it's not S.
It's kind of just a matter of like I decided, well, we have to have someone there who's not there because of a stupid bug.
All right, so do we switch them around? Do we put Stetboy down in A, Zeratul in S?
I think Tychus is easier. I had easier time with Tychus than Zeratul.
Oh,
So I don't
Yeah.
know, whatever that's worth. But
I could see that too. Tychus
But-
with Lone Wolf also is kind of like.
Okay, but one of them
Automatically
clearly has to be
depending
the best, to be the guy with Hot and
Okay,
Horner.
let us look at this. Let us put the three of them in A together and figure out who's the worthy one. And honestly, I think that Tychus actually makes a strong case. You're right.
Tychus? All right, let's put Tychus in
I agree with
S
Tychus.
then.
All right, Tychus is in S, and the other two are in A.
There you go, guys. Very scientific way of determining who goes in S.
Okay,
Who's
we
who's
did it.
best? Who's best in S? Oh wait.
I mean,
We still have to determine. Does Swan belong in A with Stetboy and Zeratul?
probably not with Stetmann and Zeratul.
All right, Abathur and Alarak definitely not.
If it was just with Stetmann, maybe I would say Swan. Yes, Zeratul is also an A, so no.
Yeah, Abathur and Alarak definitely not on the same tier. Okay,
Oh.
so the D tier. Are Zagara, Artanis, and Raynor that close to each other?
I think so. Yeah.
Because I definitely want to. I definitely want to kick Artanis down to E. Like, ugh.
No, Artanis is definitely not like notably worse than Raynor, especially. I'd say Raynor is probably the worst of those three. Raynor is probably just the outright worst.
yes, I agree with that.
Ugh. Stupid Lila. Stupid talented Lila.
Anyways, whether Zagara or Artanis is better in D tier, that's kind of hard to tell.
So we're definitely sticking the three of them together. The Three Musketeers and stuff.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Who's best in S?
Auto win game bug is
Invincible
good.
guy. The invincible guy that stalls without doing much.
All right. Hot and Horner. Top of S. There we go, guys. We did it.
Yeah. They
Who's top
figured
of-
out how to get S. They just need to stop playing the game.
We just need to be bugged. who's
No, they
top?
just need to stop playing the game. You put Galleons there and you don't even fight the enemies because you can't win the fight.
Who's top of A?
Zeratul, I would say.
All right.
I think Stetmann's easier, and yeah,
Well,
maybe a lot
Stetboy does
easier.
buff his allies. He does give his ally the green zone overcharge, which is defensive drone spammer.
I mean, he doesn't give green zone overcharge to his ally unless his Gary happens to be in the area, at which point he's definitely put his Gary there instead of on his own side. So I don't know about that one.
No,
I
it's-
think if you're sending the hero unit over there already, then Zeratul's hero unit is just as useful as Gary's
that
Gary is
makes
going
sense.
to be.
That makes
Uh,
sense. All right.
so,
So do we? So who's better, Stetboy or Zeratul?
I think Stetmann in general is just an easier commander to execute than Zeratul. Zeratul just has a higher skill floor, but I think Zeratul's honestly better here. He's stronger.
All right. Just
He can
we can-
definitely carry harder.
we can call it a tie.
Sure.
it's not that far.
Yeah, we can call it a tie, a virtual tie. All right. So between Alarak, Abathur, and Swan, who are all A candidates, who's the best?
Swan.
Swan.
All right. And then Alarak or Abathur?
Alarak's stronger early, Abathur's stronger later. So, although
Yeah.
the early game is more important.
Well, it's
Early game's
Temple
more
of the Past,
important,
so
but
it's Temple
late
of the
game's
Past.
harder.
There's 3 waves by the 10-minute mark or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing.
I think
Amon's
Abathur-
AFK for the first half of the mission.
Abathur gets the nod here because Sable and Cloud and just the late game is more important in Temple of the Past, I think, because that's the harder
alright.
part. I mean, I guess On top of past late game is harder than in the early game.
Yeah.
And then
I'd say Abathur. Abathur is also better at like actually like splitting stuff off to help another front than
Alright.
Alarak is.
That's true.
Then
He
it's
also has
decided.
deep tunnel, which is nice.
All right. Next, after those three, do we have Karax? Yeah, I think
yeah.
Karax. Yeah, Karax.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
pretty good.
Okay.
And then Dehaka.
Dehaka.
Yeah, Dehaka.
Dehaka.
Dehaka could honestly be
Then-
higher than Karax, I would think. But
You think
yeah,
Dehaka could be
Dehaka's
higher than
good.
Karax?
Well,
Kind of depends on the enemy. So
Depends
Karax
on
is less.
Okay, we can
I think.
call it a tie. Another virtual tie. Karax and Dehaka. There we go. Depending
Right.
depending on whether you like offense or defense. Arcturus.
depending on how much you hate Immortals.
Yeah, Arcturus or Phoenix. Vorazun's bottom of B, right?
I would actually
I'll
probably
put Manx at the bottom of
Oh, B. Arcturus
Oh,
bottom of
really?
B.
Oh.
Well,
yeah,
paying attention to
I
stuff.
agree.
All right, I'm fine
If
with
there
that.
was no eminent domain, maybe higher, but eminent domain actually matters here.
Yeah.
for Manx.
Yes,
Yeah.
Eminent Domain.
I agree.
There are two
makes sense.
commanders in this game who care about Eminent Domain, and they are Stetmann and Manx. Okay, Zeratul kind of is cannons, but not really. Let's be real. The projection times out anyways. You can cancel projection from the source to get rid of Avon's projection. So no, Stetmann and Manx are the two commanders who care about Eminent Domain.
Okay, so between Phoenix and Vorazun, who's better?
I would say Vorazun probably.
Vorazun?
Actually,
I guess
was
time
thinking
stop.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
But time stop is good.
I think they're both kind of really strong against ground, needs
Yeah.
focus against air. But I think
Mm.
the combination of Black Hole and Corsairs, I think put Vorazun slightly over it. Plus time stop. There's time stop too.
Vorazun has great crowd control, which allows her to, if you end up getting forced into the position of you're unexpectedly getting carried, she's more useful.
Plus, if you get a bunch of hybrids at your door, your Corsairs can you just calm down, hybrids. Just calm down. Don't.
You can also just make a nice big minefield of stasis wards as like the backup plan.
Okay, but I'm not sure why you would want to spam enough oracles to make a minefield. But okay.
You spit out like you spit out like 3 or 4 oracles. Remember that oracles get bonus they added bonus energy regen to cloaked units, and
Yeah.
Oracle Cloak is the same upgrade as Corsair Cloak, so you're definitely getting the upgrade. So
Yeah.
you would be surprised how fast those stasis wards add up if you just have 2 or 3 oracles. That's why Edict's Adept was so oppressive in 1v1, was because even in the short format of like 15 at most minute 1v1 games, the number of stasis wards you could get on the map, and you were spending some of your energy on worker harass. Yeah, stasis wards are cheap. You can make a lot of them.
All right. So Vorazun over Phoenix. Who's best in C? Nova?
No.
I'm inclined to say Stukov,
Stukov?
personally. Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But I just like Nova's
Okay.
defensive drone. I like Nova's Griffin tactical airlift. But I'm okay with Stukov
I
also.
do like airlift.
It's Diamondbacks plus Liberators or tanks, depending on what you're fighting.
I would personally also, honestly, I'd personally use P3, but I still say Stukov is the top.
All right. I'm okay with that. Then Nova and then Kerrigan.
Yes.
I would, yeah, I agree with that.
All right.
Honestly, Kerrigan's biggest strength here is if she gets Terran enemies, she can just spam lurkers because Terran enemies don't know what detection is, and lurkers will just say, haha, you all die.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fine though. Okay. For D, it's Zagara, Artanis, Raynor.
Or
Yes.
Artanis, Zagara, Raynor. Well, Zagara and Artanis are kind of tied, I would say.
Zagara, Artanis are kind of tied.
I think Zagara's better.
Yeah, I definitely think Zagara's
Like
better.
I personally would put Artanis better, but I think it's basically Zagara and Artanis. Like they're both fringe commanders who aren't that popular, so it's kind of like insufficient data to really say like that much about either of them, honestly, because most of the people who are playing both of them are people who actually like play them a lot.
All right, I'll randomize the two, and wherever it lands on, it's the final one.
No ties.
No ties.
Everyone else gets a tie, but Artanis and Zagara, we need to spite Artanis apparently because CTG is clearly not biased.
Clearly not biased, guys. Clearly not biased.
Nothing. Not at all.
Guys, watch Sticksbender and Twotuu's channels. I will link them down below, and I will see you guys next time.